Gold exports surge. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article discussing the surge in gold exports here in Australia. Now I know there are a lot of gold bugs and silver bugs who watch the channel, and let's have a look though, a little bit more about just gold from a global economic perspective. Gold is the eighth, and this is from the Observatory of Economic Complexity, gold is the eighth most traded product. Just think about that. In the world, it is the eighth most traded product. And the 1,206th most complex product, according to the Product Complexity Index. So it's not a very complicated product, gold, to get compared to other things. The top exporters of gold are Switzerland, not surprising, 70.3 billion. And then Australia, 29.1 billion, followed by Hong Kong. Again, not surprising if you've been to Hong Kong, the gold there. So, there you go. Then we've got US, Arab Emirates. The top importers are Switzerland, again, they're the top exporter. China are a top importer. India, Hong Kong, and the United Kingdom. So you can see here who the top exporters are. Now Australia, we import 1.3% of the world's gold. If we click on that, we can see where does Australia import their gold from, which is interesting. Biggest portion is from Papua New Guinea. So I wonder if that's coming from New Guinea mines, processed over here into Australia to get sent out again. Then you've got some from New Zealand and from Japan. Even from Germany. So that gives you a bit of an understanding of gold. Well, let's have a look. Let's see where Australia... Oh, it's not working. Let's have a look where Australia exports our gold to. We'll say, click on here. Where does Australia export gold to? And what do you think? Hong Kong, 41%. China, 30%. There you go. UK and then Switzerland. So, yeah. Maybe this is why we're seeing a spike in gold surging. Now let's have a look at this. So, gold surge boosts the Australian export prices. So Australian export prices jumped higher during the pandemic-affected March quarter as investors turned to safe haven bullion. We can see gold, it's going off a little bit this morning, but it was sitting over 17,000 for a few days. Investors turned to safe haven bullion, and soaring demand for scrap metal helped push Australian export prices higher during the pandemic-affected March quarter, but this was offset by softer petrol demand amid widespread lockdowns. The nation's export price index rose by 2.7% for the 3 months to March 31, swinging from a 5.2% decline in December, when increased global supply of coal, metal ferrous ores, and metal scraps had compounded subdued demand from China. Data released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics on Thursday showed the main contributors to the quarterly export price uptick was gold, with yellow metal prices up 11.4%. The ABS attributed this to increased demand for the safe haven commodity as a result of the global economic uncertainty. Well, the price of gold shipments have now risen 31.9% through the year to March. Meanwhile, prices on metal ferrous ores and metal scrap exports rose 2.3% for the quarter due to constrained global supply. The extended Chinese New Year pandemic shutdown and wide-reaching transport restrictions prompted a surge in reliance on imported iron ore to the mainly coastal-based steel mills. Offsetting this, well, that's interesting. Offsetting this was a 7.8% drop in petrol export prices due to decreased global demand as countries began to shut down and put major transport restrictions in place to stop the spread of the pandemic. Petrol was also a major contributor to the quarterly input price index fall of 1.0%. Petroleum products and related materials were down 11.1%, while inorganic chemicals imports were down 11.8%, driven by a fall in demand for sodium hydroxide and input into a number of manufacturing processes. Gold import prices were up 11.2% for the quarter and 31.7% from the 12 months to March. Road vehicle imports fell 0.6% due to continued decrease in global demand. So we also have Newcrest is doing a capital raising, and they're a mining company here in Australia, or gold miner. Newcrest announces a 1.1 billion capital raising. Australia's largest listed gold miner has announced a 1.1 billion equity raising, in part to fund its 703 million further stake in a gold mine in southeast Ecuador. Newcrest mining capital raising consisted of a 1 billion institutional placement at $27.54 a share, a 7% discount to Wednesday's closing price, plus a $100 million share purchase plan. So there you go. Look at the difference. Newcrest is buying the financing facilities in the Fuerza del Norte mine from Orion Mine Finance Group and funds managed by Blackstone. Blackstone, aren't they managing the QE in the US, buying their own things? The mine is owned by Canada's Lundy Gold, which Newcrest holds a 31.9% stake in, and buying the gold prepaid and stream facilities. An off-take agreement gives Newcrest further exposure to gold product from the Tier 1 mine. Newcrest Managing Director and Chief Executive Sandeep Biswas said the acquisition would give the company exposure to 400,000 ounces of gold from the mine through to 2026. With gold prices at the levels we see today, Newcrest expects to receive significant cash flows, which will rank ahead of London's gold equities owners, he said. Here's the thing. I know Peter Schiff is constantly talking about these gold equity mines potentially being good dividend payers in the future. That's something to consider. What are your favorite gold companies, guys? Have some of you invested in them either for hope for potential return or for a dividend payment? The funds will also be used to fund future growth options, including possible expansion of mines in Canada and Western Australia. Newcrest said during the March quarter it produced 519,000 ounces of gold at an all-in structured cost of $827 per ounce, in line with guidance, and did not experience any interruptions from the pandemic. That's interesting to see how much the production cost of gold is. It has secured 55,000 rapid detection kits, which it will use in its return to site screenings, and has commenced trials of the Bluetooth tracing system called SafeTrack to identify close contact of infected individuals. Newcrest said it has also discovered a new high-grade zone of mineralization at its Red Chris mine in British Columbia, Canada, and their shares are currently in a trading halt when this article was written. So what I have here is just their media release, guys, and let's have a look at this. And you've got to remember, guys, I'm an architect, so you don't take financial advice from an architect. Do your own research, and I'm sure you all would. Lots of people in the comments seem to enjoy investing and looking at these different opportunities. So, the equity raising to fund future growth. Newcrest today announced it was undertaking a $1 billion fully underwritten institutional placement and a share purchase plan targeting up to $100 million. Together, the equity raising to push the Fuerza del Norte financing facilities announced in a separate release to the ASX today, and to fund future growth options such as the construction of declines at Havieron and Red Chris. The equity raise to be undertaken, $1 billion, $100 million in non-underwritten share purchase plan. As of 31st of March 2020, Newcrest had cash on hand of approximately US $1.4 billion and access to a further US $1.4 billion in liquidity in the form of undrawn committed bank facilities. Well, everyone has access to those facilities. Institutional placement. The institutional placement will comprise an issue of approximately 39.1 million new fully paid ordinary Newcrest shares, being approximately 5.1% of Newcrest's existing issued capital, to certain eligible institutional investors to raise approximately $1 billion at an issue price of 25.6 per new share at the placement price. It represents a 7% discount to the closing price of Newcrest shares of $27.54 and an 8.9% discount on the 5-day volume weighted average price of Newcrest shares of Australian $28.10. On Wednesday, the 29th of April 2019, being the last trading day prior to the release of this announcement on the Australian Securities Exchange. It is intended that eligible institutional shareholders who bid for an amount less than or equal to the pro rata share of new shares under the institutional placement will be allocated their full bid on a best endeavours basis. The institutional basis will utilise Newcrest's existing placement capacity under ASX Listing Rule 7.1 and does not require the approval of Newcrest shareholders. RBC Capital Markets and Macquarie Capital are acting as joint lead managers and underwriters of the institutional placement. So, the share purchase plan. Newcrest will offer eligible existing shareholders, including eligible retail shareholders, on Newcrest share register at 7 p.m. Melbourne time, Wednesday the 29th of April 2020, with registered addresses in Australia or New Zealand, the opportunity to apply for up to $30,000 of new shares under the SPP without incurring brokerage commissions or other transaction costs. So, guys, let me know if you're one of these investors. Are you taking advantage of this opportunity? You're going to, chuck another 30 grand in Newcrest? Newcrest intends to target raising up to 100 million via the SPP. The offer price per new share under the SPP will be the lower of the placement price, being $25.60 per new share, and a 2% discount on the 5-day VWAP of Newcrest shares on the ASX. The S&P offer period will open on Thursday, the 7th of May 2020, and close at 5 p.m. Melbourne time on Wednesday, the 27th of May. Okay, so, people are considering it now. New shares issued under the SPP will rank equally with Newcrest's existing fully paid ordinary shares from their date of issue. The terms and conditions of the SPP will be set out in the SPP offer book, which is expected to be dispatched to eligible shareholders by their preferred method of contact on Thursday, the 7th of April. So there you go. It's not for distribution or release in the United States. So there we have it, guys. Gold is surging, or gold exports are surging. Newcrest are also raising capital. They also have cash on hand. What do you think? Are you a gold bug? Are you investing in gold to hedge against the economic uncertainty? Or are you investing in gold miners, inspecting a return? Or do you think property will always go up and just locking in that? As always, let me know your thoughts, opinions, and have your discussions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or on Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can send us gold from Gold Pass, the Perth Mint, and you can also support us by buying our merch from the HeiseSays blog, or support us via PayPal. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next time.